This is Viva Fry.
I'm Dr. Peter McCullough.
This is Tom Luongo.
This is Chuck Prodnick.
This is Alex Kreiner.
Hey, this is Brad Wall.
This is JP Sears.
Hi, this is Frank Peretti.
This is Tammy Peterson.
This is Danielle Smith.
This is James Lindsay.
Hey, this is Brett Kissel, and you're listening to the Shaun Newman Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, folks. Happy Thursday. How's everybody doing today? When it comes to precious metals, silver, gold, bull, obviously. I was watching some different things on federal government, budget, deficit, printing money, all the things. And I'm just like, well, I don't know if there's anything safer right now. I'm sure there's a few things you'll argue with me on. But precious metals seems to be a spot where, yeah, you might want to take a look at that. I was just pulling up the gold price, and if you just do the last year and look at the way gold has been going, it's pretty insane. It's like a giant mountain, and it's only going up. And this government and other governments don't give me a whole lot of confidence that they're going to do something to change the trajectory of that, which is good. That means precious metals. When you're looking for somewhere to store your money, put your money into precious metals, as Silver Gold Bull says, the number of ounces of silver needed to buy an ounce of gold at near 30-year highs, and it's a bargain price. You might want to take a look into that. All the contact info for Grahame down in the show notes, and you can go on silvergoldbull.ca.com when it comes to precious metals. These guys are leaders here in Canada, and just make sure to reference the Shaun Newman podcast on any purchases. Guardian Plumbing and Heating, these guys have been keeping homes, farms, and businesses running smoothly since 2010, and farmers, I know you're all out there working your butts off. Guardian's efficient grain dryers and Guardian power stations aren't just available here in Lloydminster. They're available all across Canada. The power station is an absolute game changer, giving you 2-for-1 utilities, heat, and electricity from the same reliable system. It's an innovative way to keep your operation running efficiently and save on energy costs. If you want to find out more, go to guardianplumbing.ca, and you can find out more information there. You could also give them a call and ask for, probably Joey or Blaine, or I'm sure one of their sales staff, and they can walk you through it. Ignite Distribution is a high-service supply company based in Wainwright, Alberta, specializing in automotive parts and a wide range of additional products, including safety equipment, welding supplies, fasteners, and janitorial items, operating as a Napa Auto Parts retailer. I'm, of course, talking about Shane Stafford and his group in Wainwright. You can give Shane a call, 780-842-3433. Folks, it's that time of year when you can reserve your free ticket that is, for the Expat Money Summit. If you care about your liberty and the right to control your own future, you'll enjoy the group that Mikkel Thorpe is putting together from October 10th to 12th, so that's just a couple weeks away. Of course, Mikkel Thorpe, the host of the Expat Money Show and speaker at the first Cornerstone Forum, is bringing together the experts from around the world for the Expat Money Online Summit, and it's completely free for you to attend. You'll learn how to legally protect your wealth, secure second residencies and citizenships, reduce your tax burdens, and own property abroad, all to safeguard your freedom. And it's free. And this year's focus is Latin America, where they say opportunity is booming. So reserve your free ticket at expatmoneysummit.com, and that's all down in the show notes. Substack, it's free to subscribe to. Obviously, there's a paid portion as well in there for any of you that want to support the work I do. And in it, we give some behind-the-scenes footage of what's going on in, many different things, lots of personal stuff, but some stuff in the podcast realm. This week we put out the first image coming out for the Legacy Wall. I've been talking about, you can text me and get your name or your company's name on that wall. And there's a video now with the laser image of Silver Gold Bull, and that's the first one of many that will be going up on that wall. That's going to be super cool. So you can go take a look at that. There's a couple things here. There is a Quick Dick McDick fundraiser coming up November 22nd, and that is for Lashburn Elementary School. You can go to showpass.com/Lashburn to get tickets for that. I have the dueling pianos coming in December 20th. Now I think I got 4 or 5 tables roughly left. So if you're a company here in the area and you're interested in a Christmas party, you can reach out to me about that. Just shoot me a text. I can give you all the details. But dueling pianos December 20th. And that's at the Gold Horse Casino, and they're back by popular demand. Last year they came in and really People really, really enjoyed it. The MASH Spiel is coming January 17th, so tickets will be going on sale for that. We only got room for 16 teams, and so we're just debating on whether we just allow individuals to sign up. There will probably be a way for individuals to sign up, or you can just buy a team, and that's going to be in Canmar, Alberta, so just west of the Edmonton Airport. So that's coming up in January. And then the Cornerstone Forum is coming March 28th, 2026. We're just finalizing, and I keep saying that, and I know probably people are like, yeah, you keep finalizing. I'm like, I know. There's been more to it than I thought this year. So, just a couple things. We're just making sure we get the details correct. But it is March 28th in Calgary, Alberta. You can mark your calendar for that. You're going to be the first to hear when tickets go on sale. Super excited to announce it. Super excited to get that rolling. But March 28th, 2026 in Calgary, Alberta, the Cornerstone Forum returns, and looking forward to hopefully seeing all of you attend. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Rumble, X, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to leave a review. Make sure to share with a friend. And make sure to text me some feedback. Love hearing from you guys, even if I don't get back to you right away. Last couple weeks, the text line has been hotter than normal. There's been lots of stuff coming through, and I really appreciate it. And look forward to hearing from all you guys. Okay, let's get on to that tale of the tape. Today's guest is the CEO and Executive Director of the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. I'm talking about Rod Giltaca. So buckle up. Here we go. Welcome to the Shaun Newman podcast. Today I'm joined by Rod Giltaca. Rod, thanks for hopping on.
I appreciate it, Shaun.
Now, I got to run into you this past weekend, and it was good to catch up to you. Obviously, you were at the Cornerstone as well back in May, so we've got to run into each other now a few times. And I always, sitting as a host on this side, it's always cool to run into people that I've got to have on the show and actually meet in person. So it's great to have you on the show because, we just talked on the weekend. There was a bunch of stuff going on, and it just feels like the snowball is going down the hill. Nobody's catching it. And all we can do is bring to light what's gone on. Now, you probably know more of the information. I've watched too many Tracy videos now. So shout out to Tracy because she's been all over the place. This leaked audio and everything. But maybe bring the audience up to speed, assuming that there's somebody that doesn't know what has gone on here in the last couple of days.
Okay, so the Liberal government has decided they're going to roll out this pilot project for their quote unquote, buyback, right? It's a confiscation program. And just before this happened, it turns out the Minister of Public Safety, Gary Anandasangaree, I guess he owned some properties and he had a tenant, and he had gone a while without fixing some items. So he goes to see his tenant, and his tenant records the conversation on his phone because he's concerned about Gary's broken promises, is what I'm going to assume. I'm actually interviewing this guy that made the recording this afternoon. And so by
the time this comes out, just for everybody's full awareness, then what I will do is I will retweet that on X, because this will come out probably hours after that, which really sucks. But at the same token, if people want to go listen to the actual guy who recorded them, I'll have it out on. I'll make sure there's a link on X, because I assume that's going to come out this afternoon then, Rod, correct?
No, it'll be tomorrow afternoon. So Thursday afternoon, Thursday late.
Crap. Well then this is a real mess. Normally people don't understand the dynamics of this, but they know by now. I record 24 hours before it releases. So this means pay attention for Rod Giltaca, the CCFR, because that'll be interesting. Carry on.
All right. So he records this conversation, but then after, I think, 20 or 30 minutes, Gary, the Minister of Public Safety, it's too hard to say his last name repeatedly. It's like a tongue twister. Then he decides to just launch into, hey, by the way, our gun buyback is rolling out this week. And then he starts speaking candidly, which is very typical of liberals. The only time that they actually tell the truth is when they think no one is listening, right? So the program is a waste of time. It's a waste of money. It's the only reason they're moving forward with it is for, 44 seats in Quebec. If they were to do it over again, they would actually address the reasons, that there's been a decade-long epidemic of violence and crime and mayhem. They would fix the bail system. They would tighten up the border. Like, he says the quiet part out loud in front of this guy. And this guy is probably going to get evicted over this, obviously, and him and his wife have to find a new place to live. But he came forward with these, like, you know what? This is the proof that the whole system just constantly, like, they are congenital liars. They are just, they inhale air and they breathe out lies, and it does not bother them. It doesn't even faze them. So is this about public safety? Absolutely not. They admit it. Are they going to keep going forward because of politics, pure cynical politics? Absolutely. And they're going to spend $750 million doing it. That's what they think.
Yeah. Well, and we know that number's low.
Yeah, of course.
I just, and it's, so the politics part, Gary talks about specifically Quebec voters, right? Like, we got to keep the, they really want this. Great. Fantastic. Like, just lovely. And in the meantime, you got Alberta, Saskatchewan saying, we're not going to implement this, like, they're not going to, so like, as sitting here in Alberta, or if you're on the other side of the border of Lloyd, Saskatchewan, the leaders of those provinces coming out saying, we're not doing anything with this, but still, like, if they make these all illegal and you got to return them voluntarily, and you don't return them voluntarily, what does that make you, Rod?
Well, it makes you a criminal. You are in unauthorized possession of a prohibited firearm, which in the eyes of the law, your GSG 16, your 22 caliber plinker that you bought, at the gun store to shoot cans and whatever, that is equivalent to a machine gun. So it's funny because we had a conversation, Tracy Wilson and I, yesterday, about what that might look like in real life. If someone says, I'm not turning it in, they have a house fire or they have a break-in, the police attend, they're like, oh, what's this? And you're caught with it. Basically, you will be charged with a very serious criminal offense. It's a weapons charge. Will you go to jail? Well, that's a hybrid offense. So they can prosecute you under a summary conviction. So I believe the penalty is a $5,000 fine and or 6 months in jail. So they could just say, you know what? The judge is like, I know you're just a regular guy, whatever. You have 14 of these. I'm going to give you $1,000 fine for each one, for each count, and no jail time or 5 years probation. But you'll end up with a 10-year firearm prohibition, probably at a minimum, if not a lifetime firearm prohibition. So that means if you own handguns, they're gone. No compensation. They're being destroyed. You won't ever be able, these are serious penalties for people like you and me, Shaun, right? People that are non-criminals. Like, these are career enders. These are life-destroying penalties to criminals. They're like, yeah, add it to the list. I don't buy guns at the gun store anyway, and I'm in and out of jail all the time. So it's, all of the people that rant and rave about how this affects only good people and doesn't change the patterns or the life or affect the life of criminals, like, that is absolutely true.
So you think this changes, like, will this change anything? Like, you get this leaked audio and, like, you can't hop on X right now and not see something about it. Like, I mean, it's just everywhere. You got Pierre Poilievre you just have every leader in Canada, roughly, talking about it. You have every commentator talking about it. The amount of times I've been texted to bring somebody on to talk about it, has been, not surreal, but, you can just see where it's at here in Canada. Like, this is a hot button issue. People want to talk about it. Fair enough. You're a guy who's been around this all the time, every day. This is what you do. Do you think this changes anything?
Well, it doesn't, I don't think. Certainly brings more attention to what they're doing, which is morally wrong. But the cynical truth, and then maybe we'll talk about some ways that we can make some change after to try to leave it on a positive note, right? Because this stuff can be quite depressing. But the cynical truth is that the way that politics works and the way that the legacy media operates in Canada, yeah, it's not gonna stop anything. And I want to give you I guess it would sort of be an analogy, but another way to look at it. We had rolled out this plan that we were going to try to force the Liberal government into offering grandfathering. Okay, so that's all the people that own these guns get to keep them. They get to use them like they used to. No new ones in the country, and they could also pass them down to their family members if those people possessed the proper license. And people got mad. They're like, "Oh, you're giving up. It's all or nothing." And it's like, okay, well, you really need to understand how politics works. What's going to happen? And I said this back, whatever, right? 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. I said, here's how this works. The government cobbles together some garbage program. Probably 20% of gun owners are going to comply with it. The less people that comply, the better for them, because that project comes in under budget. They collect a handful of guns from licensed gun owners. The prohibition continues on forever. Criminals completely ignore it, and they will claim it as a total success. The legacy media will back them up on it. They'll be like, "That's okay, problem, promise fulfilled. We've got these dangerous assault weapons off the streets," all the rest of that stuff. And the average elbows up Canadian will not know any different. And they'll walk away with absolutely no accountability for any of it. Now, that's very disheartening. That's very difficult, because what they're doing is wrong. All the rest of the stuff we already covered. Now, this is the same thing. Leaked audio. They said the quiet part out loud. It's not going to make any difference. They just walk away from it. It's just like social media, right? When you get canceled or you have some kind of social media scandal, you just wait for 48 hours and nobody remembers a thing. It's long gone in 48 hours because the cycle is so fast. So how do you change something like this? How do you try to turn it around? In our system, and this is really important for people to understand, in our system, it's equally good and bad. It's bad because in our particular system, we really don't have any codified rights, right? The charter is just a document of convenience for the government and the courts. They enforce it when they want to. They ignore it when they want to. Ask me how I know, right? Because I've spent millions and millions of dollars fighting to have it enforced. They just don't care. They just walk away from it. The government in our system can do basically anything that it wants, anytime it wants, for any reason. The judiciary is part of that process. But the good part is, and that's horrible, obviously, but the good part is the next government can undo all that stuff. They can do whatever they want to. So again, back to the bad part, it creates this whole thing, right? This cyclical one-way grabbing and pulling the country in one direction. The next group pulls it in another direction. In Canada's history, it was far more moderate. I mean, I don't think you're as old as I am, but it was a lot more moderate, right? It was getting pulled back and forth, but very in a nuanced way. Now the gyrations are quite extreme. But if we can get these people out in an election, that is the only way to turn any of this around. If another party is willing to turn it around, that is it. That's all of your options right there.
So you're leading me down this road. I watch conservative commentators specifically say, Pierre's catching in the polls. He's leading in the polls. Look at all the polls. And I'm like, I just went through a 3 years period where we talked about that a lot. Pierre's going to win. Pierre elbows in comes up. And all of a sudden the Liberals skirt by. And I don't want to go too deep into that, but like really? We think that's what we're going to put our hope on? And I mean, maybe that's all we can put our hope on. I just look at it and I'm like, what a sad bunch of people we are if that's what we put our hope in. And I don't mean that you shouldn't go vote and things. It's just like, there's nothing that can be done between here and there.
Well, I'll give you some information that actually nobody knows. So we took the government to court. We spent $3.2 million to take the government to task on their inappropriate use of an order in council to ban all these guns, right? Just through, government decree, right? And the court sided with the government. They're like, yeah, this is completely fine, right? Like you can make billion-dollar decisions using an order in council. It doesn't even have to go through the parliamentary process, the democratic process, right? And then, of course, everything just grinds on, and that didn't work. We've tried to politically destroy them. We were the 5th largest third-party advertiser in the entire country, above the public sector unions, above like the gun lobby in Canada, right? That's unprecedented. And we lost, we were unsuccessful. We lost that election. But just recently, I looked into a class action lawsuit, and that costs, like, for a legal opinion of that magnitude, it costs a lot of money. CCFR paid for that, and we really don't have a case. So we can't really pursue that unless the government makes some other mistakes that they haven't made so far. So all of that stuff is really disheartening, but I think it's important. And I know this, it's negative and all the rest of that stuff. It's just really important that Canadians, they come to grips with the reality of our situation, right? We don't have codified rights like they have in the United States. We just don't. And we're an offshoot of we're a British colony. And the government thinks we're subjects, not citizens. I mentioned a little bit about that in the conference that we were at this past weekend. So that is Canada. You just haven't seen it before, because 30 years ago, Canadians would have never tolerated it. And the government was scared. They'd be like, we will never see power if we abuse it. Well, the culture has
changed.
Yes. Yeah, it has changed. So we have to change the culture, but we also have to people are going to have to put in some work. I think this is where this is going, Shaun. Sorry for the meandering.
No.
But people have to come to grips with, this is the way that our system works. And if you don't get off your ass and do the work, you're going to get what we got. The Liberals won 4 times in a row. Why? Because they out-propagandized us. They outworked us. They came up with, they were innovative. They came up with a new spokesman. They had some invitation to voters that was as powerful as give Trump the finger. Vote Liberal. I guess crazy as that is, it worked.
It was clever.
It was clever.
You can't knock them for it. It wasn't. It was like, what? But it was clever.
That was their Hail Mary, and it did work because they went after a specific demographic. The only demographic that is still mesmerized by linear television, right? By the legacy media. And so they mobilized those people. But, and this is sort of the silver lining. Carney made a lot of promises. And one of the pillars, well, actually 2 of the pillars were, he's the best guy to negotiate with Trump. There's still no deal with Trump. This is the guy, he's an economist. He's a central banker. He's the one to get our economy back on track.
It's worse than that, Rod, even just to hop in here a sec, sure. Right? He has all the G7 leaders in. Where's Carney on like a little thumbnail Zoom call, right? It is like, if you're watching it, you're like, yeah, the best guy to deal with Trump.
Yeah.
Right? If that isn't just the biggest crock, yeah. Anyways, carry on.
So he's, didn't get a deal with Trump. Our economy is starting to, it's in free fall. We just haven't seen it yet because these wheels take a little while to go all the way around so that we can see it. Then he's going to come out in November with a COVID level deficit, probably $100 billion deficit, right? Right now, Canadians are paying just over $4 billion a month in interest alone, which is more than we spend on health transfers to provinces for our health system, for our, public medical. So he's going to add $100 billion to that debt. So people are going to start waking up. And here's the thing. If you would have asked me, and I said this at the conference, but if you would have asked me 4 months ago, how long is this government going to be in place? I would have said 3 years for sure. They're going to ride this so that they can ride the country right into the ditch. And so I was kind of preparing for that psychologically, right? Because we all have to do this stuff every day. And now I'm like, I don't know. He's destroying everything, probably, fulfilling what we thought he was here to do. But that was kind of a worst case scenario. You got the NDP that don't even have official party status. They have nothing to lose. If they can get a handful of good candidates, they have nothing to lose by calling an election. They have nothing. They will only gain seats if they call an election. and they'll get official party status almost certainly again. And all we need is the NDP and the Conservatives to do that. So I don't know. And maybe a couple of block seats. Maybe there's a deal to be had with the block. I don't know that this government is going to last a year. So we don't know that. But if we do get that opportunity to kind of wind this up, if we do get that opportunity, if you want to change things in Canada, rather than to flee, go to Panama or the United States or Greenland or wherever, if you want to fix this, you're going to have to do the work. That means every single person that you know and your family and everybody has to vote. You got to volunteer. You got to do all of these things to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or it's, well, pretty much over. You're just going to have to move to the bush and, live on squirrel stew and forget any of this ever happened. And that's about it.
Well, I would say if we're talking to people getting involved, I would point directly to my Ontario. I had a lovely person text me from Quebec. Shout out to Quebec, right? Where we need the people to get involved is in the eastern side of Canada, because we already know which way western side of Canada's going, right? Like all of us sitting out in west, we're like, yeah, we know, Rod. We know. We're trying. It's a sea of blue out here. We want things to change. But the way the Canadian voting system is we watch out east to see what they're going to do, and it's like nothing sticks. And I assume that's changing, right? There's been different things. I believe I have a group coming on next week, folks, talking about canvassing. I forget what they call it. I'm butchering the words, but about universities and how they're starting to lean more conservative. Well, I would think so. I mean, you can't get out of university and have all the debt and then look at housing prices and the job market and everything and be like, what is going on? I want more of this. This is great. So we are seeing the signs of change. It's just like when we're talking about people and families and getting out there and pushing, it's like, well, feel like that's a message for out east at this point, because out west there's a lot of blue here that is just like, what is going on? Like we and the first election I ever watched in person, watched in full, was in 2019. That may shock people. I don't know. Young father, just started the podcast, wasn't doing anything politics, and I sat and I thought, okay, here we go, Trudeau's done. Like, this is and then he won, and I was like, what? And then, everybody knows where I'm standing now, right? And the way the interviews have gone. And every time I think it can't go just a little longer, it just goes a little longer. And, and I keep waiting for the other side of the country to wake up and go, like, we can't keep doing this. And I would love to put my faith in the NDP of, like, they just want more seats. But, like, if they would have called an election on Trudeau well before, they probably wouldn't have lost everything. So I have a hard time putting my faith in any politician at this point because of what's going on in this country.
Well, I'm with you there. Yeah, I'm with you there. Like, it's upside down world. But I don't know. This is all we have. So I think part of solving a problem is you just have to figure out what you can influence.
Sure.
What are the possibilities? And you have to be honest with yourself. Right. So even when Pierre and the Conservative Party was riding high in the polls, and then all of a sudden they got Carney and the polls started shifting. We all believed the polls when the Conservatives were looking at a supermajority. And then it's like, oh, these polls are rigged. It's like, well, there's some skewing in the polls. But it's like, well, you got to pay attention. This is your reality. And it's the anger and the frustration skews our perception of reality. And if you're going to respond to your situation, like, you gotta keep a firm grip on reality. So, could we turn it around? Yeah, probably. It's just, is there a risk that it won't? Yeah, probably. So we just gotta keep working, because if you give up, you have lost. That's like, the verdict is in. Right now, the verdict is still out until we give up.
I assume I already know the answer to this, but when it comes to firearms in Canada, federal jurisdiction, correct?
Correct.
As a province, is there any way, and I know in Alberta they've done lots of different things, as is Saskatchewan, of pulling back as much control of that sector as they can. Is there anything a province can do from your studies of wrestling more of that out of what Ottawa controls. Like they say they're not going to participate. Great. But that if you have a house fire, as you pointed out, and they find it, you're still in the same doo-doo because you didn't do what the federal government wants, correct? So is there anything that provinces could do to bolster firearm owners' rights?
Well, right now, both the government of Alberta and the government of Saskatchewan are putting a lot of effort into trying to figure out some kind of workaround. But I'll tell you, the issue is there's some talk about an Alberta firearms license. There was legislation that was put in, provincial legislation about you can't be a confiscation or a seizure agent without a license from the province, and
they're not going to issue them.
Yeah, yep. Right. So there's a number of things that happen, but the problem right now that they're wrestling with is that property rights are a provincial jurisdiction, but criminal law is a federal jurisdiction, meaning that if you are in lawful possession of a firearm, that can be dealt with by the province and you can be protected and what have you. Right now, all the federal government has to do is end the amnesty, which means that everyone who has one of these guns is in unauthorized possession. It's a criminal offense. And not only are they not protected because they're actually criminals and not law-abiding citizens anymore, but let's say the Calgary police or, the Regina RCMP, they are obligated to act. They are obligated to seek a search warrant, search your home, take the firearm, arrest you, charge you because you've committed a criminal offense. So that is sort of the reach around the property rights of the province. So that is a difficult problem. And I know because I've met with the province of Alberta, this is a problem they're looking at very carefully. They have lawyers that are working very hard to figure out how they're going to circumvent that. But right now, that's the vulnerability.
A fun idea then. Me and you, the first time you were on the show, I was telling you this over the weekend. You and people should go back and listen to that because one of the things that really stood out was how you got to become a firearms owner, right? Like there's a story there, and I was like, wow, that's a really impressive story. And to summarize, you shot handguns with a military man down in the United States, and the experience just kind of like changed you. I'm way oversimplifying it. I wonder, how many members does the CCFR have currently?
Well, it fluctuates.
Sure.
And
on the high side.
Yeah. So the high side, 40,000. But a lot of gun owners don't like to be on lists. So typically,
I understand. Hey, on this side, I don't want to be on any list. But hey, folks, I'm on some lists that I probably don't even know about. I think we can all agree on that. Just by talking about these subjects, I'm on some lists. Yeah. So I get it, gun owners. You don't want to be on a list. But I'm just a fun idea. Let's say, okay, so 40,000. What happens if that was like, how many legal gun owners are there in Canada?
Well, there's 2.4 million, but just let me complete that last thought. But we have just over 100,000 people that donate to us. Okay. So, that's, I would say, I would gauge that as a better indicator of participation. So about 100,000 versus 2.4 million.
What if that number became, instead of 40,000, or the 100,000 donators, just pie in the sky, let's just multiply it by 10. It became 400,000. Does that change things in your mind? Or are you, no matter the amount of size and pressure you can put on a government, does that, like, I just look at it, I go, like, to me, that seems almost reasonable in a weird way. Like, I think that number could grow. If I knew, Rod, that by growing that number, all of a sudden it could change things. Do you agree with that thought? Or are you like, we could get to 4 million and it wouldn't matter?
Well, I have to, like, as an individual, give people the honest answer 100% of the time because I can't fight these people every day and then turn around and act like them, right? Because that doesn't work for me personally, right? So honestly, I would like to see 200,000 people either donating small amounts or being members of the CCFR or supporting the CCFR in some way. That would help. We have one big Hail Mary project coming. And if in a perfect world, I would need about $4 million to do it. We're going to do the best that we can when we still have a little bit of money left after the election. But will it change things? I would love a one-word answer, but I don't have one because that's not reality. What this project would do. I'm sorry for the long answer for a question.
You're on a podcast. You are welcome to a long answer.
Life is more complicated than, we could reverse all these bans. You just got to support your gun orgs. It's just not that simple. And I don't like that kind of misleading rhetoric to be like, don't worry, we'll do the right thing. Send us money, because it's disingenuous. So basically, if we have resources, we can do ad campaigns through legacy media and whatever, like we did in the election. We actually placed attack ads against the Liberals during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like even in a couple of the Montreal games, the biggest games, that's expensive advertising, but we got it out there. So it's a similar project to that, where if we are swinging a big stick, then you end up getting bigger results, because at the end of the day, we need to change the results of a federal election. So with more resources, could we do things at that level like we did during the election? Yes, we could. And I'm going to give you an example because this is interesting. If you remember when Pierre was riding really high in the polls, and then people were reporting all over the place, like posting, it's like, I'm seeing Pierre Poilievre attack ads. And we're not even in an election period. And it was a group called Protecting Canada, if memory serves me correct. And they were on like Home and Garden Channel. They were on the major networks, like attack ads everywhere, painting him as this cruel, character, whatever. And they went for, 6-8 months. And the word was that organization, this shadowy organization connected to nobody, had spent $4 million in the run-up to the resignation of Trudeau. And I was like, well, who are these people? How did they get $4 million? And it's like they chipped away at him for months and months and months, because obviously they're connected to the Liberals. Liberals knew that Justin Trudeau had to go. So somehow money was funneled to this group, and they did television advertising, and it was saturated. Well, two can play at that game. So the CCFR is the organization that's in a position to do something similar. And if we can continue to trickle this every month, all month long, all the way through the Liberals, and just by making light of what's going on. Look at this. Here's the promise, the prudent, pragmatic economist. Here's the devastating deficit that's going to ruin your children's future, even worse than it's already ruined. If you can keep putting that message out there, and you're doing it where the elbows up people are, at some point they're going to be like, we've been had, if that's even possible. But that's what funding can do. And that's what a group of people that are committed and have the skill set to actually get ads on television can do. So that's sort of, I'm leading you to, it might be something like that. So that's how we would change the outcome. Is it guaranteed? No, but that's how money can change the outcome.
Well, I just always think of voting bases, right? If you listen to the public safety minister, what he's talking about is a voting base really wants us. Quebec, okay? So people get all upset about that. But what I've seen from politics, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe somebody can tell me different, maybe Rod will disagree, is when you have a large base of people that want something, politicians actually act quicker than they say they can do, right? COVID is a nice case in point. The Freedom Convoy went, they saw the public sentiment, agree with what they were doing, and it was almost overnight. Things just started happening. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's coming off. Oh, whoa. And I look at it and I'm like, that's why I go back to the membership. I'm like, 40,000, I think, or 100,000. I look at that number and I'm like, I think that's impressive. But then, I think there's over 2 million gun owners and you don't want to be on a list. You've already got a license, folks.
Yeah. You're on the list.
You're already on the list.
Yeah.
And if they come in with what they already did with the buyback program, and you don't, they have you on the list. So it's like,
of course we do.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Let's get on the list, grow that number, because then that gives people like Rod. And normally I don't advocate for something, right? Because I'm like, I don't know, who is Rod? Do I, now, I've been around you enough, and I've watched Tracy Wilson. She's been on the show enough. I'm like, it's like, if we want things to change, we got to get on the right list, because we're already all on all the wrong lists.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to give you the what's the word I'm looking for? Not the capital, the credibility. It's the clout. The clout is what I'm looking for. To walk in and be like, listen, we got 2.5 million people. They're not happy. They're all across this province. And if you aren't going to change your mind, we send an email and we start mobilizing all across Canada to go out and get, what does Chris Sims always say on the show? To make sure you don't get elected. I don't mean mobilizing in a military sense. That's not what I'm saying. I mean more on the Democratic side. And I'm like, we got to get over this fear of not being on a list. I get it. I lived through COVID. I don't want to be on any list, but I know now more than ever, I'm on all the lists I don't want to be on. So why don't we choose the list we want to be on and help empower people like Rod, the CCFR, to go out and push back against this insanity? Because if we don't, well, it's going to be more of the same. That, like 40,000 is a wonderful number. I think it's great. Heck, I wish my email list was 40,000. But at the same token, 40,000 isn't enough when you're talking about 40 million people. When they talk about Quebec, I mean, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of intricacies that are there that I do not fully understand. When I watch politicians, when they have a base that wants something, they placate to them. It's like, okay, well, we're going to get there, because if we don't, we're not going to get voted back in. It's like, well, we need to grow the number then. To me, it's just, so I guess that's my selling feature, I guess, today. I didn't think I was going to come on and say that, but I'm like, I'm listening to this and I'm like, well, people matter. Votes matter. That's what is the currency of a politician. So we need to change the atmosphere. We need to change the conditions. You got to go back to, and I'll give Tooze a shout out because I always give it to Andrew Lawton. You got to create the conditions for bad politicians to do the right thing. And when you have the bad politician admitting to it that I wouldn't have done this, and it's actually just a voting group that wants it, it's like, it's already there. It's already there. They're already telling you. So liberal, conservative, I could care less. It's like, well, I do care, but regardless, it's like, get on the right list. Start, because this whole idea that you don't want to be on any list, I'm sorry, dissidents. We're already all on the wrong list. It's not even funny anymore. We're watching it play out in our society. Sorry, rant over. You talk about going on a long answer. To me, I look at it, Rod, and I'm like, yeah, I would love to see the CCFR have 2 million people, right? If they're already gun owners, they just need to understand the consequences. And I think we're all starting to understand the consequences of just waiting for the Liberal government or the Conservative opposition to do the right thing. The right thing is not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'm a big fan of many hands make light work, right? So in groups like the CCFR, there's always a handful of people that are doing everything, a handful of people that are doing the overwhelming majority of the donating, and then just dribs and drabs outside of that. So I've always been of the idea is that if everyone just does a little bit, right? Like, I mean, I'm not here to sell the CCFR, but our membership is $40 and it comes with $5 million of insurance, right? And you can buy it through our app. We have a mobile app, for God's sake. So we make it really easy. If people just donate a tiny bit, but that number is big, then no one is set back financially. No one is set back time-wise. And then we can continue to swing a big stick, right? We can continue to do things like put ads on linear television. Like, you don't, unless you've done that, you have no idea how difficult that is to get an ad on actual TV. It is really complicated. It takes a long time. We were able to get that done during an election period, which is even harder. Like, we have that expertise in-house. We know how to do that kind of stuff. So we're in a pretty good position right now, and we're going to do it regardless. We're going to do this project regardless. But yeah, if people help out, we can, it's simple. It's as simple as we can scale it up. So we can increase the frequency. We can increase the different types of ads. We can get them on more networks. We can get them more often. So it's an opportunity. And we've never had, a gun lobby group like that before in Canada, certainly. And there are no other groups, even just mainstream politics. There are no, like the Conservative Party themselves aren't doing it right now. So, we can do it, and we want to do it, and we're going to. So anyway, if you want to help out, you can.
Rod, I appreciate you coming on and doing this. If there's, there was a reason I invited you to the Cornerstone Forum, right? And then getting to interact with you more in person. There's a lot there. And, there's some options for people. There always is, right? But if you're going to stick around and watch our country do what it's doing, I think we just got to be a little more strategic in how we start thinking about this. And the CCFR just seems to me, as a legal gun owner, as something that probably is a smart choice to make for $40. That's just me saying it. I'll let my audience decide what they want to decide. But, that number, I just feel like it just needs to grow. It just needs to become a number they can't look away from. That's my personal thought. Once again, my audience is way smarter than I ever will be, and I appreciate their thoughts. I'm sure they're going to share them. Any final thoughts before I let you out of here?
No, I appreciate the chat. I think one of the other things is everyone works really hard for their money, right? And
yes, they do.
Before you even get it, you have these people in Ottawa that are like, wait a second, nobody gets anything unless it goes through us. And we've decided that your fair share is X. And then with those few dollars that you have left, you got to run your life or help your kids or do whatever it is that, that we all do. And nobody is immune to that. So it's really important, since we started the CCFR about 11 years ago, and it's extremely important that we can trust some of our organizations. So if anyone is ever curious what we do, we don't sit here and be like, well, we're standing on guard for Canadians, or we're doing the heavy lifting, or we're, going to keep up the fight against this liberal government. Like, rhetoric is worthless. It's not even free. It's just worthless. So what we did right from the beginning is, if you go to our website, ccfr.ca, and you click why join, we put on the website everything that we've done to try to fight this government and fight for firearm rights in Canada since we started. So if you scroll all the way, it's probably like this on the website. So you never have to ask, what are they doing? Do they do any work? It's like, no, this is exactly what we did here. And then a few months later, we did that, and it's all right there. So we're very transparent, and, this is our last chance. The confiscation program is rolling out. They're rolling it out, and they don't care whether it's successful or not, but they're doing it. And everyone is going to end up to be a criminal if they don't hand their guns in. So anyway, this is our Hail Mary, and I really appreciate you drawing some attention to it, because for the people that own firearms, it is incredibly meaningful to them to own firearms and to hold on to them. So anyway, we're doing everything we can, and I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming on, and appreciate the work you and Tracy are doing. We'll stay in touch for sure. But once again, thanks for coming on.
Anytime.